Hi, I'm Becky Bolinger with the Colorado Climate Center at Colorado State University. Thank you for watching our digital short drought summary series with support from the National Integrated Drought Information System, or NIDIS. Our main highlight for this summary on December 5th, 2017 is that warm and dry conditions are dominating the Intermountain West. Intermountain West region includes Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. If we focus in on the last week over the upper Colorado River Basin, we see very dry conditions throughout most of the region, with the exception of some of the highest elevations, particularly up in northern Utah and western Wyoming. But for a lot of the lower elevations and looking east of the divide, we see very little precipitation. This is a pattern that has been pretty consistent over the past month. This is looking at precipitation as a percent of normal for the month of November across the upper Colorado River Basin and surrounding areas. And we see that conditions have primarily been drier than average, with the exception of some of the northern Colorado mountains and up into northwestern Wyoming and into northern Utah. If we look at the Intermountain West as a whole, we start to see some short-term dry indicators popping out looking at the 30-day standardized precipitation index. What we see is when we get to these orange and red colors, we're seeing those short-term dry indicators, which we are seeing throughout western Colorado, into eastern Utah and central Utah, and around the Four Corners, with much wetter indicators up in the northwest. If we go into the longer time period, the 90-day standardized precipitation index, some of those indicators aren't as dry in those areas. One of the biggest things we can note, though, is that there is a lot of dryness in Arizona, and this is primarily due to a weaker than average monsoon season. If we go out onto the longer term, we see a more mixed bag, but we still see some of those dry indicators throughout the upper Colorado River Basin and into the Four Corners area. This dryness has been coupled with warmer than average temperatures. This is looking back at the entire month of November, and we see some quite notable warmer than average anomalies throughout the entire Intermountain West. These anomalies can range from 6 degrees to 10 degrees above average, and as a monthly average, that is significant. These warmer than average trends have continued into the month of December. And if we look at our outlook, the Climate Prediction Center shows mid-December, and what I'm not showing is the end of December, also showing these warmer than average conditions are likely to continue. I'm unsure if we'll see warmth as great as we've seen for the month of November, and we are still likely to have a couple of cold snaps thrown in there every now and then in different locations, but overall we are going to see a warmer than average December. And for most of the region, that's going to be coupled with an increased likelihood of drier than average conditions as well. What these warm and dry conditions are doing is impacting the snowpack for the region. This is looking at snowpack accumulations since the beginning of the snowpack season, and we see that we have some higher than average snowpack values in the northern Rockies and lower than average snowpack values as we go south and towards the Four Corners. Even in those higher elevations, we have seen a bit of a flat line in the past couple of weeks. This is looking at the upper green in western Wyoming, and the green line shows that snowpack accumulations have been above average but have flatlined a little bit in the past couple of weeks. The further south we go, the less positive the situation looks. Here around the upper Colorado headwaters, we struggled to keep near average for the start of the season and have also seen that flatline to now being below average snowpack for the season. And as we go down towards the Four Corners, the situation is much more bleak with much below average snowpack conditions that have flatlined. Now, recently we've said that it's still early and a lot can change, but as we progress into the winter season, it becomes harder to make up these deficits. So December is really what I see as a make or break time, and if we had a good December, we could recover these losses, but with what we're seeing in the outlook for December, we probably won't. And what that means is in January, we're going to be in a much more critical time period where losses are more difficult to recoup and it'll be harder to recover, and we will likely see some impacts from these lower than average snowpack numbers. Some of the impacts we could see, aside from less than ideal ski conditions, would be a drying of soils, which we are already seeing in our modeled soil moisture product. We could also see an earlier snowmelt season and lower runoff in the spring, which could impact our water supplies. And this could also lead to a higher risk for fire danger as we enter the spring season. I want to encourage you to check out our CoCoRaHS condition monitoring map, which shows what regular citizens who report precipitation are also reporting in the way of impacts. For example, in southwest Colorado, an impact is reported that the ground is dry and dusty. If we go up into a little bit higher elevations, this user has said that only 14 inches of snowfall have fallen to date, and that at their elevation of over 9,000 feet above sea level, there's really only snow on the ground in shaded areas, and that snow is really only 1 to 4 inches deep. So we are already seeing impacts, and those could possibly increase if we continue those warm and dry conditions throughout the month of December. Our current U.S. Drought Monitor map shows most of the region in the upper Colorado River Basin and through the Intermountain West in either D0, which is abnormally dry, or D1, which is moderate drought conditions. If we continue with the pattern we're seeing, I would expect that we would see an expansion of this D1 throughout western Colorado. I would also expect to see some possible introduction of D2, which is the severe drought category, into these areas and bleeding into the higher elevations closer to the Continental Divide. Thank you for listening in, and please visit our website listed here at the top to see more. Email us if you have any questions. Thank you.